Hey guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen and scholars and ballers. This is Daniel and Eric here from the Noted podcast. Just letting you know that we apologize for the late upload on Saturday. We had some issues.
The many late uploads that have been of recent.
Yeah, in general.
What are we doing?
Apologize on that. We'll get back to our regularly uploaded
scheduled program
day of regular scheduled program. Today we struggled to
yeah, we did
record
this
the
4
podcast.
times. Okay, so if you hear the lackluster of enjoyment during this from me, it's because I've heard everything.
Yeah, we and it was sucks too because
They
each
were
take
so good.
were so good, especially the last take we had. It was so good.
It felt so good because it's like third time's a charm. If we don't get it now, we strike out. We don't get to bat again. Shoot, darn, shucks.
And
then we ended it. And then Daniel was like, "Well, sweet stuff." And I was like, "You gonna upload that audio to the drive?" And I was like, "Wait." And then he was like, "No, because we had to switch things up." And I was like, "Fuck!" And I punched my screen.
My computer crashed when we started to record it, so we had to
like 10 minutes in, like small talk done and everything.
Yeah, and normally I record my audio and I upload it, so then he can then splice it together,
do all the jazz.
But we had to record my audio through Discord on my laptop
which means I have to record both sides, and someone has their desktop audio always muted.
Yeah, because that's how we normally do it. That's our normal setup.
Yeah.
So, there you go. That was our morning. We appreciate you guys.
I'm disgruntled.
Yeah.
I am constipated through creativity.
I still hope you enjoyed the episode, though.
I don't.
I did. I enjoyed it for the two of us.
No, I did. Oh, well, yes. I enjoyed the episode, Daniel. No, okay. But as a viewer, listen up, okay? It's like 40 minutes. We tangent a little bit after the 30-minute mark. Hang in there, okay? Be a good sport. We're creative, okay? Okay. I have a degrading voice because views aren't going well, okay? Do your job, okay? Viewers, okay? Okay? I'm sorry, I'm desperate.
It's okay.
I have to go to work soon and I don't want to. I want to quit my day job. I drink coffee today.
Is that where all this energy
I haven't eaten anything yet, and I drink coffee.
Dude, go get some food.
Sorry for
thank you for listening to this, and yeah, you're good. And thank you again for stopping by. But yes, please watch it.
Yeah.
All the way.
You hear the seriousness in my tone?
Mm-hmm,
it's my tone, right, Daniel?
God damn it. Okay, bye.
Deuces.
Hello, and welcome to the Noted Podcast Moon Knight Episode 5. This is the first and only time you've seen this episode, but this is the 4th time we've attempted to make it.
Yeah.
So hopefully my computer doesn't crash or our audio gets messed up. So
facts.
Further ado, let's jump right into it. I am your host, Daniel, and your other host, Eric, is joining me.
Hello.
And we're just going to talk about the episode 5 of Moon Knight. We're going to just kind of skim through some of the main plot beats, and then Eric and I will jump in and out talking about our favorite parts.
Yeah.
And then we'll review the episode as a whole. So the episode picks up where last week's episode ended. In the psych ward, we figure out that the hippopotamus is the a goddess, not the goddess we thought she was, the one that is the goddess of singing and love.
Yeah.
But she's the goddess of children,
Mm-hmm.
and she helps pass souls into the afterlife. She takes them through the underworld, and so turns out that, like, kind of like how we thought the psych ward was the kind of mental space of his dying brain. It's kind of that.
Yeah.
It's not like in all of his brain, but she says that the inside of the boat is whatever makes the person most comfortable, and apparently Marx is a psych ward.
Yeah.
And then so they walk out of the boat and they see it going through tons of sands, and there's two scales, and she takes Mark's and Simon's hearts out and puts them on the scale and says, your scales have to balance with the feather. If they balance, you get to go to the reeds, which is just their paradise of afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you don't, you get thrown into the sands and become a sand golem.
Yeah, you get turned into a nice big brick.
Nice juicy brick of a sandman.
Well, bricks aren't juicy, but yes, you are correct.
And so she's like, you better balance them scales. And so they go into the boat to go through Mark's and then so Simon's life. And this is when we really get Simon.
Steven.
Is it not Simon? Steven.
What?
Holy moly.
What show are you watching, dude?
I don't know, man. I promise the first 3 times we did this, I knew his name was Steven.
Oh, I know.
Steven's life. And so this is when we get, like, we've gotten little tidbits of their backstory, but we don't really know anything about them.
Yeah.
And so in Disney fashion, we get all of the backstory about the main character in the second to last episode of the season.
In Disney fashion, they tell the story
at the very end
completely backwards and a little janky.
And look, have I really enjoyed this show? Yes. And I know people like us who watch it, enjoy it, and like it is just going to tell Disney they can keep making shows of 6 episodes. But
no.
Disney, if you happen to listen to this, don't. Don't. Just because I watch your shit doesn't mean I'm okay with everything you do. I know you're making plenty of money off of this, but fucking hell, start making like 10 episode seasons. Holy shit.
Well, this is their only okay. Well, first of all, sir, this is their first show that they've only done 6 episodes in. So
that's not true.
What show?
They did the same thing with Boba Fett and the Winter Soldier. Not Bucky, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think was like 6 or 7 episodes.
I thought that was 10.
Nah, I did too. My memory made me think it was, but I'm fairly certain it was only 6. I mean, I'll quick fact check me. Winter Falcon, Winter Soldier.
Yeah, there's only 6.
Episode. It's 6.
Yeah, it's only 6.
And then I think WandaVision's was like 10.
WandaVision's and Loki's were 10. I will say it does make sense for those 2 to be 10 though, only because they progress like the main story. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I mean, I haven't watched it, so I can't really.
No, dude, Loki's is 6.
Is it really?
Yeah, Loki's was 6, Wanda's was 9.
Damn.
And Book of Boba Fett was 6.
Yeah, I had no interest in watching that. So
I mean, I know that's not Marvel, but it's still Disney Plus TV show.
Yeah,
and a huge IP. It's their thing. Like, I hate it.
Yeah,
I love TV shows because they're long form content, and they're just making it 2 long movies.
Yeah,
instead of like 4 movies, which is what a season's supposed to be. I also come from the community of anime watching, so I love like 100 episode season shows plus. So like, I know I'm not gonna get that, but come on, it's asking for too much to get 10 episodes.
Honestly.
But I digress. So we get their backstory, and we get to see Steven and Mark start to fight because they go into a room where they see all the dead bodies that of Mark has killed, and he starts naming them. And Steven's like, "You know them?" He's like, "Yeah, you kill someone and try to forget their face." And he starts like naming all the cities that he killed them in, and he remembers every single one of them. Which I think is a good thing to show. It's like, even though he was killing terrible people, Mark still feels remorse for what he did.
Yeah.
And then there's a little boy who appears.
Dun, dun,
So
dun.
Mark tells Steven not to follow him. Steven does it. Steven ends up going through the door after the kid and closing the door, which the doors are like enter their
Gateways.
memories. Yeah.
They're like what's it called? Monsters Inc. doors.
Oh yeah. But the other side is memories. Yeah. Exactly. And so they go through the door. And this is when we get to see like the biggest trauma in Mark's life is
The origin story.
Exactly. So Mark had a little brother named Rollo, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so.
And he took him outside while it was raining, and they went into a cave, and the water filled up and it killed his little brother. And his mom was extremely distressed and ended up blaming Mark for his little brother's death and saying that he was jealous of his little brother. And it devolved into, after several scenes of them showing his backstory, Mark's mom abused him and called him vile, and physically abused him, emotionally abused him. It was just a really bad situation for him.
Yeah.
And that's when Steven becomes a thing, because we saw like the tape in last week's episode where we got to see Steve and Grant, pretty much their Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And so we kind of got tidbits of that, and we see Rollo and Mark talking about Steven, and that's where this personality appears during one of the situations on Mark's birthday, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of it. No, I don't think it was one of it. No, it was one of his birthdays, I think.
Yeah, because his mom... No.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay. So it was it was one of his birthdays, and he went upstairs, and his mom starts banging on the door, yelling at him to open the door, and he won't open the door, and he's like saying, "This is not my mom, this is not my mom, this is not my mom," to the point where then a new altar is created or comes to the forefront, and it is Stephen. And Stephen is the British archaeologist who knows no fear.
Yes.
And he starts organizing his pens.
He starts
like, "Oh,
tidying up.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, bloody hell, it's a mess in here. I gotta clean before Mom sees it."
Yeah.
And so he starts cleaning up, and then his mom goes in there and hits him with a belt, and it's
She child
really
abuses him.
sad. Yeah, it's super sad. This is a really like heavy episode.
Yeah, it really is. It's I would say the best one.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say it's the hardest one to swallow, like topic wise, but it is definitely the best episode. I think not only do we get good character development for Mark, we get great character development for Steven, and we get to see them develop together in their relationship.
Yeah, we get to see two backstories, like two origin stories of like why Mark made Steven and how Steven essentially has evolved.
Yeah. And then it cuts to the future and the funeral. Mark's mom died, and he's outside the funeral. What is it called?
Shiva?
A Shiva?
I think it's a
He's
Shiva.
outside. Yeah, I think you're right, because he had I'm gonna sound very ignorant. I mean, I kind of am. I don't know what those caps are, but it's the Jewish cap. What is that called? Is that a yarmulke?
Yes.
No, I don't. Yarmulke?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was out there, and his dad saw him through the window and tried to bring him in, and he's like, no. And he was drunk, he was drinking, he was crying, and he breaks down in the middle of the street, crying, falls on his knees. Steven takes over and immediately calls his mom. And it shows at that point, Steven thinks that his mom's still alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Mark says that this is when our lives started to collide. Before I was able to keep it separate, and at this point, this is when we started
Yeah,
colliding
so
into each
pretty
other.
much the very beginning of the show is like when his mom dies.
Yeah,
Ish.
it's like 2 months.
Yeah.
I think they said
Yeah,
like
he
2 months before.
mm-hmm.
Um, and you mentioned something about in one of the previous renditions of this episode. You had a theory about how like every time Mark's mom, like, anytime Mark goes through a traumatic experience, Steven comes and specifically has to call his mom. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so my thought was that like since Steven is like the shield for Mark because Mark doesn't know how to handle like Mark knows how to kill. He knows how to be cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Steven is like the exact opposite because in one of the scenes Mark talks about how the reason why he created Steven was so that Steven could have a normal life and feel like his mother was there for him and that he didn't have like a horrible upbringing and that he could like he himself could experience somewhat of simplicity, right? So
Yeah,
my
and
go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and like I feel like it was Mark's way of dealing with the trauma because
Yeah.
he didn't know how to deal with the trauma.
Yeah. And so whenever Mark goes through something that he can't handle, like whether it be like dealing with his mother dying or like uh I would just say like really stressful like emotional situations, he uses Steven as kind of like a shield or like a hideaway, and he just lets Steven take over until he is able to like gather himself up again and then go back out and kick ass.
Yeah.
Do Moon Knight things.
Steven's the emotional support animal.
Pretty much.
And that not to belittle or simplify the complex reality of people who have alters.
Oh yeah,
Please,
no,
I mean, no one takes this out of context.
Yeah, no, we're talking about a TV show.
Yeah. And so Steven then so this whole episode they're cutting back and forth every time Mark goes through something uber traumatic he can't handle and he yells no 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 pretty much, or screams or something. He gets pulled out of the reality they're in, which is heading towards the underworld, and gets put into a like room
Office
with
space, yeah.
Dr. Harrow. And then Dr. Harrow starts asking him questions pretty much that he was avoiding or that he was dealing with in that scene prior. And then he ends up, once they have like a breakthrough, that's when it cuts back to like the real situation they're in.
Yeah.
And so this time, after Steven figures out his mom is dead, Steven says, no, she's not. I know she's not. She's not dead. I know she's not. And Steven this time pulls them out. And Steven is now the one in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
And Dr. Harrow even's like, oh, Steven, I didn't know if I was going to see you again.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Harrow pretty much calls his bluff and says, I'll call your mom right now. And it starts ringing. And that's when Steven comes to terms with the fact his mom is dead.
Yeah.
And Steven starts crying. They're both going through a very emotionally just challenge. Like they're reliving their trauma.
Yeah.
Together.
It's everything that they are going through is to balance their hearts so that they can progress through and into the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. And specifically, hopefully, the Reeds, which is the good afterlife.
Yeah.
And so that's when we see the final flashback, the final memory of their life, which is when Mark becomes the Moon Knight. You want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah. So pretty much, it's the same scene that the show's been alluding to in the sense of when he kills Layla's father, or is around when Layla dies, or Layla's father dies. And
they alluded to it last episode. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they've talked about it kind of through the whole show since like episode 3, sorta. And then he's there, and that's where he got shot, and that's where they also have said that that's where he died, and where Khonshu like accepted him as meat suit. And so he's at like essentially like a Khonshu tomb, or like altar, whatever you want to call it. And he's laying on the ground, and the person who shot him is nowhere in sight. And he's laying there, and he's having one of those moments of like, do I just lay here and bleed out, or like, and it's just like pop one in the head kind of thing. And so he like puts his gun underneath his chin and like goes for it. And then before he does, Khonshu's like, what a waste. And then kind of swindles him into like a contract that is like still does all the good things, but like it's just the way that he kind of worded it is like he took advantage of someone who had no other like
he didn't really have, if he wanted to live, he had no choice.
Exactly. And so like he is pretty much like Khonshu saw the opportunity to do good in the world and didn't want Mark to kill himself, but also took advantage of Mark because he was about to kill himself. So it's just I don't know how to look at their relationship now. It's a little messy, which I absolutely love because it just adds to character. And so we see Mark put on the suit and become, as Khonshu says, my Moon Knight. Dun dun dun. And then they dip back into the boat.
Yeah, and then from there they go out onto the main part of the boat, and
the
their
poop
scales. Deck. Yeah, their scales still aren't balanced yet. And so halfway through, we kind of skipped over it, but like halfway through their like extradition through their memories, they went back out onto the poop deck and talked to the hippo lady, and she was like, she started seeing souls fall down into the desert, but she specifically says, why are these souls falling now? These souls are being condemned too soon. Like, they're not supposed to be dead yet, and they're not supposed to just go straight into the sands either.
Yeah.
And pretty much showing that Harrow succeeded in and either is killing tons of people with his staff,
yeah,
or he brought back Ammit, which it's probably the latter. That he brought back Ammit already.
Yeah, I think,
and she's now condemning people.
Yeah, I either think that she's condemning people, or she's bringing people from the paradise place down into the bad place.
That would be interesting.
So it's like souls that were accepted, but she's like, no, kind of thing.
Yeah, she's like, I disagree.
Yeah. Or she's just murking a bunch of people up top.
I think it's probably that one, to be honest. Agree. I think it's probably that she's doing mass judgments now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of her thing.
Facts.
And so she says that Steven and Mark pretty much tell her, see, this is what we're talking about. We need to get back to the land of the living. We can stop this. And Hippopotamus Goddess is like, sure, why not? I got you, boys.
Yeah.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
Definitely word for word said that.
She's like, frick it. I've never done this before.
Yeah. And so instead of taking him to the reeds, she's going to take him to the doors of Osiris. Which kind of shows that like he can control the land of the living to the underworld, I guess is kind of what it's showing.
Yeah, it's like it's just pretty much like a gateway. It's like,
and so she. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So she takes him there, and then they go back into the ship do more of this stuff. After the Khonshu memory happens, they go back onto the poop deck, and that's when they're at the gates. And she's like, the gates are closed. I've never seen the gates closed.
Dun,
This
dun,
is weird.
dun. And their balance their balance aren't scaled.
Yes, their balance is not scaled. Their scales aren't balanced.
Yeah.
By the way, this is where I'm going to interrupt real quick. I have a theory that, and I kind of thought this was the case the first time we saw the avatars a couple episodes ago, but I wasn't sure. But now I definitely think Osiris or Osiris's avatar is working with Harrow. Because when Harrow and Osiris, his avatar, went and saw Khonshu locked into that statue,
Yeah.
it was really weird to me that he was hanging out with Osiris. Like, Harrow, for all intents and purposes, his only connection to him would be, yeah, you guys judged me. You found I wasn't guilty. Can I go back to what I was doing? But now they have him, like, hanging around.
Yeah.
And obviously, Harrow disliked Khonshu, and Harrow would want to know if he was sealed. And Harrow wants to make sure he gets sealed. And so the fact that Osiris's avatar would bring him there, and that possibly could have even been Osiris inside his avatar too, would bring him there, kind of shows to me that they have some type of agreement or a relationship.
I think the avatars and the gods are one and the same, because they can take over whenever they want.
Yes, yeah, they can, and we've seen that happen. They just didn't show us in that scene specifically.
Yeah.
Whether the god was inside him
well,
or not.
The
when
god
that
would
scene
know.
Happened. But yeah, no, we can assume that if the avatar was not being controlled, it was because he was told to do that thing.
Yeah.
We can assume they're on the same page.
Yeah.
I
mean, it wouldn't matter if they weren't on the same page, because it's a god inside of a human body. It's not like he could resist.
Well, I know. I'm just saying that. Like,
no, I know. I'm just
in the scene I'm
joke.
referencing. We don't know if the god's in him or not.
Yeah, but no, he's always in him.
No, he's not. Khonshu's not always in Mark, and Khonshu jumped into Mark during the trial. And same thing with all the other gods.
Like,
all the other gods jumped into their avatars. They weren't like controlling their bodies.
They would still know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, yeah.
Like, Khonshu is always in Mark's head. Like, Khonshu can just see what Mark does and follow Mark around all the time and do exactly what he wants all the time whenever he wants. So, like, he's always with him. So I would imagine all the other gods are, like, on the shoulders and watching what their avatars do. Just like Khonshu
I agree.
Would be.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was saying. It's like,
yeah.
I suspect that's happening. We just don't, and that's what I meant, like, they're on the same page.
Yeah.
We just don't know necessarily if he was in control. Like, we don't know if the avatar is not trying to go rogue, is what I'm saying. We don't know if, like, the god is taken over completely.
Yeah, but my statement is that I don't think the human could go rogue.
Yeah.
Because the god would just be like, no. And then either kill him or make him do otherwise.
I think it's possible this human could go rogue. Because, I mean, I guess we would need to know more about Harrow. Because we don't know what happened between Harrow and Khonshu. But obviously, like, god-avatar relationships can be broken.
Well, yeah, but I think that's because Khonshu didn't want Harrow anymore.
Yeah, I think that's very possible.
Probably
especially
just because
if
he
Harrow
was power hungry and just wanted to murder people all the time. And he also wanted to bring back Amit.
Yeah.
And Khonshu didn't want that.
I think it's hinted towards that. I think kind of based off of what we know already, it's hinted that he wanted to bring back Amma afterwards. Because he said, like, you doing this, you leaving me led me to this type of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming we'll get the answer to that question next episode.
Hopefully.
But yeah, I digress. I agree with you. I think Osiris is working with Harrow.
I would agree.
Hence why his doors are closed.
I would agree.
And so they start just turning the boat around and going towards where they were going originally. And then sand golems, who are the people that were killed by Mark, start crawling up onto the boat. and Mark starts fighting them, and Simon is watching, scared in the background.
Again.
Steven. And that's when Mark starts getting pulled off the edge, and Steven's like, "You can do it, Mark." And if I'm Mark, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And then he goes and takes a bat and just fucking wrecks house.
He absolutely slaughters those sand people.
And Steven goes
like
all
maniac,
Mark.
like after he beats one, like proceeds to just bash sand on the ground.
Oh yeah.
And screaming.
He gets unhinged. And then Mark starts to get pulled overboard by one last one who jumps up at the very last second, and Steven runs over there to push the dude off and gets pulled off while he pushes him. So Mark stays on the ship, but Steven falls off, and Steven tries to run after the ship, but starts slowing down and turns into a sand golem.
Yep.
And now
no more
Steven's
Steven.
no longer...
No more Simon.
No more Simon.
No more Simon.
But yeah, now Steven's gone, and
maybe.
Then that's when for what
not.
we know now.
Probably not, but yeah.
I really hope he's not. I don't suspect he will be gone.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have that whole like episode of backstory and then just get rid of.
Well, I mean, it's good character development.
Yeah.
Good at pulling the heartstrings. And now Mark is technically just Mark. Because after Steven died, his scale balanced out. So he entered the promised land kind of thing. He got to be in heaven after that.
He went to the paradise, the reeds.
Yeah. And so I still think that Steven, depending on what I'm assuming he's going to get back to the real world somehow. Like he has to, cuz then there'd be no point to the show. And I think that he could just make Steven again if he really wanted to.
I have a couple running thoughts on that. I mean, my want is for Steven to come back.
Oh,
as a viewer, I want him to come back.
I don't. For Mark's sanity, I don't.
Yeah, but they just started to live in harmony. I think they can live in harmony.
Steven dying is Mark finding peace, though. Well, because he's letting go of trauma. Fair. Steven and Mark are the same person.
I'm aware.
Okay.
And that's why I think they could live together.
They don't
harmony,
need to live together.
But I hear what you're saying, though.
Because
symbolizing him going away is him letting go of that trauma. Yes. Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple ways you can interpret what happened. I think what the writers are trying for you to interpret is the fact that when they're in the underworld, there's two hearts, like we were talking about, like you mentioned. The scales were unbalanced until Steven died. Therefore, even though they are one person in physical body, and they are one person normally, in this underworld, they are two separate people.
Yeah.
And so, if he were to die in the underworld, he dies, because he had his own soul, his own scales.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably the most likely interpretation, that he is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Another way I could see them kind of explaining it, if they wanted to bring Steven back, would be even though he died there, he's still a part of Mark, and because Mark survived, he survived.
Yeah.
And then he just is at rest, and Mark has to bring him to surface.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I would agree to that only because the way that he did make Steven is through trauma and making a shield for himself. And I think the way that they could bring him back is that like in the next episode, he's like fighting people and he just needs a shield kind of thing. And instead of depending on himself and maybe Khonshu, because I'm assuming the next episode he's going to try and free Khonshu. The next episode's going to be just jam-packed, and I'm probably not going to like it because it's going to force a lot of endings and a lot of... Yeah. I'm not gonna go into it, but
I don't know how they're gonna wrap up
everything,
all the story beats in an hour. I hope the episode's like an hour and a half, to be honest. Maybe 2 hours.
I hope it's. I don't think that they'll do 2 hours. I think it
I don't
might
think
be
so
like an
either.
hour and 20 or an hour and 15, but I don't know. But
I hope it's an hour and 20 at least, because there's too many story beats to wrap up in 50 minutes.
Yeah, there really is, and for them to also have another action scene, because there has to be one.
Yeah, there has been, ever since you mentioned that. There literally is always an action scene, and I can't unsee it.
Yeah, there has to be. There's like a quota. It's disgusting. And so I think that he could do something like that, where he makes Steven, except this time it's not because of trauma, but it's because he needs like a person that he can depend on, and that person is himself. But he doesn't see himself as just him. He sees himself as multiple, maybe. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. Or maybe like he's learning not to rely, like, because I feel like Steven was made because he didn't know how to handle it, but also the way he's interacted with Steven and kind of the basis of it, like, he wasn't really working with Steven at all.
No.
It was Steven's life and Mark's life. They were separate.
I think
and he's always kind of like...
He protected Steven like a older brother.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't protect his younger brother, so he made Steven to have a simple life. And for him to be able to have, like, for him to be able to protect something and someone.
Yeah. And I could see the way they bring Steven back is like Mark's will. It's not that. I think they'll probably do it like Mark is finally not wanting to be alone to do it himself.
Yeah.
That he's wanting to fight with Steven, you know what I mean? Like he's needing that partner in that way. I could see that maybe. I don't know. There's a couple ways they can do it.
Yeah. Either way, I
like Steven as a...
Steven to stay dead.
Yeah. I like Steven as a character a lot, which is why I'm sad that they killed him off in general. The way, every time I think of a way they could bring him back, though, honestly, it just feels like weak writing.
Yeah.
And I feel like the writing they did killing him, like the first theory I had, explaining his death, the first interpretation, I guess, I think is the most solid writing they could go with. Like it and honestly, it kind of like would, if they brought him back, it wouldn't fully undo, but like it kind of would undo exactly what just happened at the very end, because it's like inferred that him letting go Steven and Steven dying allowed Mark to reach peace.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, and that's kind of what they show you when he goes to the paradise. And so I now I'm thinking about it out loud, and you're talking about your opinion on it. I kind of agree with you. As much as I really like Steven and I want Steven back.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
like,
I love Steven.
Personally,
if they bring him back, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah, personally, I wish they never killed Steven. But because they did kill him, I don't think they should bring him back.
Yeah, he has to stay dead.
I just feel like it'll be too weak of writing to bring him back.
Yeah.
Like I just don't see how they can.
And I think that they will. Simply just because it's Disney and they have to.
No one's dead.
They have to please. No, it's just they have to please everybody, and they'll probably find some creative way to bring him back somehow. I don't know. It's Disney.
Yeah.
They always hit all the strings somehow.
I don't know. One thing I really don't like about a lot of the Disney Marvel films is they just don't let anyone ever stay dead.
Yep. Oh, I know. I'm not a fan.
And I absolutely hate it because
And then the characters that
there's
you
so
want to
many
die
good
never die.
yeah, well, and there's so many good character deaths in Marvel throughout the years. Like they're in all the movies. There's so many times that a character dies actually like affected me a lot. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't care. Like this doesn't matter to me
Yeah.
because they come back. The only character personally I think that deserved to come back as many times as he did is Loki, and that's because it's his shtick.
Yeah.
Like it's his shtick to fake his death. He's not actually dying.
And you know the
He's
character
faking his
who
death.
died and shouldn't have died?
Hmm.
Quicksilver.
Yeah,
How
that was
does a
dumb.
man
Like,
who can
why is the
outrun
man-
bullets? He can outrun bullets. He can move faster than bullets. And the man gets
Get
lit
murked.
up. How?
Well,
That's
and also
moved the table. He had to use his force to stay in one place to throw the table. No. No. No.
well, and also, I even just from like a story writing aspect, his death is just a bad choice. Of like, if you're gonna have someone die in that movie, having a character who was not introduced until that movie, who for the most of the time was a bad guy and then turned good guy,
Yeah, but he's so...
but has no actual existence this whole movie. Having him die is just bad writing. Have someone who's already been.
He was plot
having-
device to make Wanda more powerful.
That's
All he was a plot
and it's
device.
bad-
And that's also because Fox owned Quicksilver. And so they couldn't put him in other movies.
Well, they could.
No,
they
not at the time.
They never called him. No. They could because Wanda was owned by owned by Fox as well. Both characters were owned by Fox. The reason why they got away with doing it is because they never actually called him Quicksilver. They never actually called her Scarlet Witch. So that's how they were getting around it. They never called them by those names.
Yeah.
So they could have kept doing it. I mean, it's skirting the line for sure, but they're not actually technically using the character.
Yeah.
It's just a speedster. You know what I mean?
That wears silver and has silver hair.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knew who it was. Like, there wasn't they weren't being, like, they were being cute about, like, what they could get away with, pretty much, you know?
Yeah.
But I believe they totally could have kept making him. Because, I mean, they did it with Wanda, and it was obvious who Wanda was, too. And they kept making movies with her before they even bought Fox. So, like, I believe they could have done it with him. I just think it was poor writing on their part. Because it's like, kill off a character I care about. Like, kill off characters that actually have weight in the universe. Who have been there. Like, when Coulson died in the first Avengers film, that was sad. Because Coulson, even though it was more smaller roles, had actual character. Like, he was in other movies. Like, we had grown attached to him, even if it was just by a comedic role in other movies. This man existed in a vacuum. You literally could remove him from the movies, and he would only really impact one character, and that's Wanda.
Yeah.
And you know the only other time that they ever talk about him, that Wanda really ever talks about him, is in her own TV show. After the big finale of the Marvel Universe happens. So none of the movies she ever talks about him again. So it's almost like he didn't matter. So why kill him?
She references him in a couple of the movies, I think. Doesn't she?
I don't think so. Like, I could be wrong, but, like, she might do it once, but, like, I'm fairly certain that she doesn't at all.
No, I'm pretty sure that I don't know.
Yeah. Like, she might once, but it's to the degree where it's, like, once in, like, 5 movies type of thing. It's very minor.
Yeah, but, like, 5 movies to us is, like, a year and a half to them.
But it was, like, 3 years in
Either way, we're way off topic. This episode was
yeah.
really, really good, and I really, really liked it, and I'm not gonna like the next one.
I'm trying to keep an open mind. We'll see. But yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna like it, but It's not gonna be good simply just for the fact that there's too many open ends that they need to try and close, and no, it's not gonna be done to my liking. I just know it. Like, I know it's going to be done well, but it's just not going to be crafty. I don't think it's gonna be crafty.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna leave me in a disappointment. And if it doesn't, next week's episode's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I'll be hyped as hell.
You'll be able to hear about it, whether Eric was disappointed or if he was happy.
Yeah.
If Disney respects the death, which
they
that whole tangent was supposed to be me. What I was trying to say is they never respect the death. They kill off characters they shouldn't kill, and then the characters they do kill off, they bring back for no reason.
Yeah.
They don't respect the death, so we'll see if Disney does it this time.
Hopefully, because this is their first TV show that has mental illness.
I mean, it might be the first TV show they marketed that way. But
no, I know.
Did no one watch WandaVision?
Did no one watch any of the Thor movies? Or any of the Iron Man movies?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, we have a chronic alcoholic in...
A man with PTSD who went to space and now has panic attacks?
Yeah.
With a heart condition?
Oh, yeah. Well, and then you also have, like... Yeah, like, not only all those characters, but yeah, like, Wanda is literally, like, going insane.
Yeah, she's holding an entire town hostage. That's pretty fucking insane.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been the 4th edition of episode 5 of Moon Knight.
Daniel.
Of the Noted Podcast.
Who are you? Who's Simon? We're on the 5th episode.
I didn't.
You said 4th.
No, I said 5th.
You said 4th.
No, I said the 4th edition of the 5th episode.
Oh. Word things better, Daniel.
Hear things better, Eric. Thank you for listening. Once again, I'm glad you guys joined us. You can subscribe, comment, please.
Yeah.
You can find us at The Noted Podcast, A Noted Podcast on Twitter. Everything else is The Noted Podcast, Twitter, and Facebook.
I bet you big bucks that you didn't make it to Instagram, 42
Spotify.
minutes.
And if you did, I love your faces. Thank you.
I don't.
All right.
Bye.